Hello, hello. Welcome, please come in. We resume our poison type only runs here in our final game of the series, Pokémon Violet. But that does mean it's time to run through the early, very boring, sections of the game so we can get the run started. I start by choosing Quaxley as my starter. I can't use it, but I also can't mod the game to add a different starter, so this will have to do. I chose Quaxley, so Nemona will choose Fuecoco, which is probably the strongest against me. Sprigatito is weak to poison, and poison types will resist Quaxley's fighting moves. While Skeledirge's ghost type would make it resist poison, Nemona terastallizes it every battle into a pure fire type, so it doesn't really matter. Neutral defensively and offensively is the best I can get. Also, Torch Song is probably the scariest of the starter's signature moves. Fight against Nemona, but this doesn't matter, then catch a Pokemon, because I have to. Then a brief trip through a cave and an Arven fight. I can't get any poison types yet, so this goes very much as normal. Then I have a bit of an open stretch before reaching the academy, and I can finally access some poison types. First is a wild Shroodle, a poison normal type. Then up next is a Paldean Wooper, an excellent poison ground type with water absorb. But that is all I can get for now, so it's into the next Nemona fight. She leads with Fuecoco, who is weak to Wooper's Mud Shot. She then follows up by terastallizing her Palmy and spamming electric attacks, which does nothing because Wooper is a ground type. Does this Palmy only have one move? Why did they give Pokemon so few moves in this game? Oh well, into the academy. Everything here is boring and takes longer than I'd like to get through, but once that's all done, my path is open to go basically anywhere I want. I start by heading out east of Mesagoza. Here I'm looking for something. I grab a bunch of items, then just basically run around, presumably looking for a Pokemon here. I'm excited to see what it is. Oh, there is what I'm looking for. My next poison type, Gulpin. Not a great Pokemon, but at least for now, just having more team members is an improvement. I then head back and out west of Mesagoza. Here I run through beating up random Pokemon to get leveled up for the first gym, against Katie, the Bug-type specialist. I'm not really expecting this to be too bad, since I resist bug moves, but I have underestimated this gym before. First is the Olive Roll, which is always a time, then into the actual gym fight. I only have 3 Pokemon, but so does she, and mine are better. She leads with Nimble, I lead with Wooper. Struggled Bug doesn't really do anything, but does give me time to set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. My special attack is lowered by a few stages, but Wooper is a physical attacker, so I don't care. Spam Poison Tail until Nimble falls. Katie sends in Tarantula, which is immediately poisoned. I don't really have any other plans, so I spam Poison Tail. This takes out a decent chunk of HP before Wooper goes down. Next, send in Shroodle. Shroodle has a decent attack, speed, and bite. Bite deals okay damage to Teddiursa, and it can flinch. I switch to Poison Fang because it actually deals a bit more damage, and while Teddiursa's Fury Cutter can stack to great damage with multiple hits, resisting bug-type attacks means Shroodle can survive and bring down Teddiursa. That's Gym 1 down. Next up is Artisan, which requires rounding up some Sunflora. I'm not overly concerned with this gym, as all the Pokemon here are Grass-type, and therefore weak to every Pokemon I have. I don't even bother taking the time to level up my team to the new level cap of 17, and the battle starts with Wooper getting put to sleep and being bodied by Mega Drain. So that's not what I wanted to see. I send out Shroodle, who crits with Poison Fang, dodges Petalil's attacks, and then finishes it with another Poison Fang. That is a much better follow-up. Smoliv comes out, and I beat it with 2 quick Poison Fangs, and I'm already at Brassius' ace Pokemon, Sudowoodo, which is tankier and stronger than I'd expect, and can get speed boosts every turn thanks to Trail Blaze. Because of its high defense, I Leer before Shroodle drops. Then send in Gulpin, who uses Yawn and takes so little damage from Trail Blaze. Rock Throw deals more damage, but by then the Sudowoodo falls asleep. Gulpin gets a convenient crit with Sludge, and I manage to finish off the Sudowoodo before it wakes up. Alright, well, that was a lot spicier than I'd expected. Losing Wooper basically immediately was really not great. Can't help but notice that my team is not especially durable, even against neutral moves. Hopefully I can shore up my defenses with some tankier Mons. But with Brassius down, the level cap has gone all the way up to 24, so it's new Pokemon time. First up is Seviper, the poison counterpart to Zangoose. It's basically just an Ekans, and fills a similar niche. But hey, Blair is good to use against anything I can't poison, and it's another Pokemon. Next, it is into the wetlands to pick up a Krogunk, a poison fighting type I've used before. Quad weakness to Psychic is bad, but fighting is very good offensively. And the next new addition to the team is Marini, an aggressively tanky poison water type Pokemon. New Pokemon acquired, time to fight the first Titan Pokemon. I will mostly be skipping non-gym nonsense, but the Titans specifically are helpful time savers, as they give my Koraidon more power. Cloth is weak to Wooper's Mudshot, and Arven likes to heal with Heal Dew, so it's not a very interesting fight. Next up is Iono, but first I take another detour to this cave. Here I can catch another new Pokemon, Salandit, a fast, special attacking, poison fire type. However, it takes a bit longer than I'd like because I need to catch a female Salandit, as only female Salandit evolve. Wow, that's actually the worst nature I could ask for. Oh well, I can fix that later with a mint. I just need to remember. Oh yeah, the regular Grimer down here. These aren't nearly as good as the Alolan Grimer, but that's okay. Adding another Pokemon to the roster is never bad. A little bit of leveling and Wooper evolves into Clodsire, one of my favorite Pokemon, and it's time for another Nemona fight. She leads with Rockruff, so I lead with Clodsire. Bite can flinch, and does, so I pivot to using Mudshot. Clodsire is more of a physical attacker, but Mudshot is super effective, so it's worth it. Rockruff down, Nemona sends out Palmy, which actually has more than one move. I only managed one layer of Toxic Spike, so it just gets regular poisoned, but Palmy is also weak to ground moves, so 2 Mudshots finishes it off. Does it still not have a non-electric type attack? Final Pokemon is Nemona's Crocketlore. It also gets poison on switching. Crocketlore uses Yawn into Clodsire, which lets me get off a pretty decent Mudshot. Crocketlore is poisoned, I have 5 Pokemon, so I've basically won at this point. I switch into Marini to use Venoshock, which deals way less damage than I expected, but Crocketlore wastes its final turn on Yawn. Nemona taken out using only 2 Pokemon, and it's time for the next gym. And the game freezes on a black screen. Cough. Anyway, into the fights. I should be more leveled up for this, as the level cap is 24, but I don't really feel like it. She leads with Wattrel, so I set up Toxic Spikes and then start Poison Tailing. Clodsire is at low health, but the Wattrel goes down. Next up is Belly Bolt, which gets poison, and then uses Water Gun, which heals me, thanks to Water Absorb. I spam Mudshots while it does nothing, because it doesn't have any attacks that can hurt me. Next up is Luxio, which has Bite, which could flinch, but doesn't, and 2 Mudshots finish it off. Down to Mismagius, which is Iono's most dangerous Pokemon. It terastallizes to have no weaknesses and uses Hex to take out Clodsire. Into Seviper, who immediately gets confused but fights through to poison the Mismagius. At this point, I'm basically golding. I have enough Pokemon left to just outlast the Mismagius if needed, but might as well try something. I screech down the Mismagius' defenses before switching into Shroodle. It's unaffected by Hex, lives 1 Charge Beam, and hits with Slash to finish off the fight. It was also a critical hit, which was almost certainly unnecessary. That is 3 gyms down. Next, travel to the far reaches of the north. This area has the best grinding in the game, as you can make a ham sandwich to encounter loads of Chansey and Blissey. And now that I'm just barely strong enough to beat them, this will be where I grind. Next level cap is 30, so I get some levels, and it's time for a detour into the DLC. First to Kitakami. No poison types here I really care about, but I do need to get through the very beginning of this area to unlock my actual destination, Blueberry Academy. First is a double battle with Lacey, which I lose badly and slowly because I'm drastically underleveled, which is fine. I'm not here to win, I'm here to get access to the terrarium. This place has a bunch of stuff I want. Terra Shards, which I never actually used in this run. TMs, which I also don't think I used. Mints, which I definitely use. And XP candies, which will be very useful shortly. However, these are all bonuses and not my immediate goal. This is my immediate goal. Alolan Grimer, which is a bulky special defense Pokemon with a real nice moveset and amazing poison dark typing. Catching this also evolves Shroodle into Grafairy. Now this Grimer is way too strong for me to use, the current level cap is 30 and this Grimer is level 59, but by catching another regular Grimer, I can equip a Alolan Grimer with an Everstone and then just hang out at a picnic. It then takes a while, but eventually they will get freaky and I will get an egg. Then I can bike back and forth in Mesagoza until it hatches, and now I have an Alolan Grimer of a level I can actually use. with just an awful nature. Oh well, I can fix that with a mint later. For now, I have a tanky Pokemon, and thanks to some XP candies, is already ready to go. And now it's time to get back on track. Over to Cascarafa to get the gym mission, which is just tracking Kofu over to Porto Marinada, easily beating up his assistant and buying him some fish. Neat. Back to Cascarafa, and it's time to hop into the gym trial. I lead with Clodsire against Veluza, which is a mistake because Veluza's Mold Breaker bypasses Water Absorb, so I managed to get one layer of Toxic Spikes up, but that is it. Veluza is a Psychic type, so it's time to show off Grimer, who gets bodied in 2 hits and doesn't even take out half of Veluza's health. Alright, how about Marini, who is tanky and also has a Dark-type move. Marina is tankier and can heal, but Veluza can do very good damage with Slash, out-damaging my defensive Pokemon. So that's 3 of my team down, and I haven't even taken out Veluza. Next, I send in Grafaiai, which finally finishes off the Veluza with Bite. Kofu sends out Wugtrio, which gets poisoned, but is fast and can headbutt to flinch stall my Grafaiai to death. Okay, send out Krogunk, who pushes through headbutt to land a Venoshock. And it's into Kofu's ace, Rabominable, which finishes off Krogunk in 1 hit. Send out Salandit, who has basically no chance of winning, so it's time to try again. I went into this fight a bit underleveled, so I should probably just get some levels before heading back in. And I did a bit of a whoops by leaving autosave on when fighting a Blissey, so I end up just a bit overleveled on a few Pokemon. So that's my bad, but I'm not restarting the entire run, so I'll just leave the other 4 Pokemon underleveled to balance it out a bit, and we will move on. Back to Kofu, and I lead with Krogunk, who is quad weak to Psychic moves. Interesting decision. But Krogunk does have Sucker Punch to get 2 hits in while Veluza plucks. Does this Veluza not have a Psychic move? Into Grafaiai, which is faster now and can take out the last little bit of Veluza's health with a U-turn before hopping right back out again. I can now more safely send in Clodsire with Water Absorb against the Wugtrio. Clodsire deals big damage with Poison Jab, and poisons. And takes a speed hit that I don't care about because Clodsire is so slow anyway. Finally reach Kofu's ace Crabominable again, but it's not even close. Crabominable has no good attacks against Clodsire, and when Clodsire isn't super strong, Poison Jab deals good enough damage and poisons the crab. And that is Gym 4 down, this time with way less bad. Next up, it's time to take on the next Titan, Orthworm. Salandit easily takes it down with very strong fire attacks that gives me the ability to make big jumps. Then over to Bombardier to get another movement ability, aka Swimming. Diversions aside, time to head over to Medali to unlock the fast travel point, then back to the north to gain some levels. My new max is level 36. During this, Salandit evolves into Salazzle, and it's time for our next gym fight, Larry. Quick Google to get the recipe I need, and it's gym time. Larry leads Komala, I lead Grimer. Komala's ability blocks Toxic, which I really should have known, so I switch out to Grafaiai. Grafaiai hits with Poison Jab for big damage before U-turning for more damage, and a switch to negate Yawn. Into Clodsire, who also gets Yawn, so I switch back to Grafaiai. Slam hits for big damage, and another U-turn finishes off Komala. Time to send out Grimer again. Dunsparce hits for big damage, but Grimer gets off a Toxic. I'd love to keep Grimer alive, but I don't have any good switches against ground attacks. I miss Crobat. Send out Clodsire, who terras to remove the ground weakness, but Dunsparce uses Glare instead of Drill Run. I think the AI is cheating. Then Clodsire breaks out of paralysis via affection before getting immediately paralyzed again. But another Megahorn finishes off Dunsparce. Larry sends out his Ace Staraptor, which hits for big facade damage before taking very little damage from Poison Jab. Clodsire goes down, so it's time to pivot back to the Grafaiai. Grafaiai immediately uses U-turn to deal some damage and switch to Salazzle, who is not particularly tanky but can deal big damage with Incinerate. Salazzle goes down, but Staraptor's health is low, and Poison Jab can finish off Gym 5. And it's time for another Nemona fight. Probably my least favorite because you can't save between Larry and this fight. She leads with Lycanroc, I lead with Grimer, which isn't ideal, but I had no choice. Toxic lands and Grimer takes a good chunk of damage. Time to spam Minimize, but Accelerock never misses. Gonna be that kind of battle, huh? Out to Clodsire, who sets up double Toxic Spikes while the Lycanroc dies. Next up is Goomy. Dragon Pulse doesn't deal much damage, and 2 Poison Jabs brings it down. Pomo is next on the list. It finally has a non-electric attack, but a crit mudshot nearly one hit kills it before it goes down to Toxic. All that is left is her final Pokemon, Skeledirge. Clodsire drops to Torch Song, scary as that boosts Skeledirge's special attack, so I send out Marini, which resists fire. And Torch Song crits and one-hit kills. Grafaiai gets off one slash before also going down to Torch Song. Salazzle uses one Poison Fang before also dropping. And then Croagunk uses Sucker Punch for just barely not enough damage. Should've used Low Sweep. Well, that's a loss, and redoing that fight would require refighting Larry, and I'm just not going to. I'll get even with Nemona later. But it's time to get some levels, and that means Croagunk evolves into Toxicroak. Then Grimer evolves into Muck. Then Marini evolves into Toxapex. Okay, that should more than boost me up for the next few fights. And it's time for another gym. I head up to Montanevera, clear the very easy double battles, and it's time for the gym leader, Rhyme. I start off with Muck and Salazzle. Salazzle starts off by nasty plotting to boost special attack, while Muck uses Crunch. Banette has Sucker Punch, which isn't great, but doesn't kill, so it could be worse. Oh, light screen. It is now worse. Another Incinerate takes down Mimikyu, but Houndstone takes less damage than I'd hoped, and it has Phantom Force. I switch Salazzle to Toxicroak, but Discharge paralyzes, and Toxicroak is at 4 HP. Sucker Punch deals okay damage, but not enough, so it's Grafaiai time. Phantom Force fails, and Muck does nothing. This fight is real obnoxious. Fortunately, Discharge kills Houndstone, and Crunch finishes off Toxtricity. Really wish this game either had more double battles or no double battles. Having just one is obnoxious. Gym 6 down, time for Gym 7. But first, another Nemona fight. Not too different from the last fight, but this time I can lead the Pokemon I want. And I have evolved 3 Pokemon. I send out Clodsire to set up Toxic Spikes against Lycanroc. Clodsire deals a bit of damage before going down, but she did all I needed her to do. Next is Toxicroak, which finishes off Lycanroc with Low Sweep. Then 2 Poison Jabs takes out Sliggoo. Toxicroak goes down to Pawmot, but now I can send in Muck. Muck takes a big crit, but it's time for Leftover Minimize. Evasion increased by 6 stages, it's time to finish off the Pawmot. Nemona sends out to Skeledirge, but instead of getting one-shot swept, I just spam Crunch while Skeledirge misses. I do appreciate that its special attack doesn't get boosted when it misses. It's very convenient. After the last Nemona fight, that made me feel much better. Let's take this good energy into the next gym against Psychic Trainer Tulip. I do accidentally get Clodsire 1 extra level, but it's fine as it doesn't end up impacting anything. Mostly because I play wrong. This gym should be very scary, as Psychic is super effective against most of my team. Instead, I lead with Clodsire to set up Toxic Spikes. I would have survived long enough to deal some damage too, but I didn't think to tear away Clodsire's Psychic weakness until turn 2. So just Toxic Spikes then. Then into Muck, who's immune to Psychic thanks to that great Dark secondary typing. Farigiraf has Crunch, but it deals almost no damage. So I set up 6 Minimizes, so I never get hit. And then I can just spam Crunch. Once Farigiraf goes down, Muck also learns Acid Armor, so I can now drastically boost its physical defense. Oh, I'm gonna stall so much. Despite this, in theory, being a very dangerous gym, a combination of Crunch, Minimize, and Toxic Spikes means I can just spam my way to victory. Well, that was anticlimactic. I do have one more gym left to do. It is an Ice-type gym though, so we'll see how that ends up. Grusha leads Frostmoth, I lead Clodsire. Always gotta set up the Toxic Spikes. Which I do get out, because Frostmoth misses Blizzard. Good thing Grusha is an idiot and doesn't set up Snow. Clodsire down, it's into Salazzle to set up Nasty Plot twice. Blizzard deals less damage than I'd feared, and Incinerate brings down Frostmoth. Next up is Beartic, which goes down in 1 Incinerate. Titan is actually more durable than I'd expected, but Salazzle survives anyway thanks to Affection. And then survives Ice Shard thanks to Affection. Affection is so busted in this game. Altaria pops in and tears into a fire weakness and goes down. So yeah, that was pretty easy. Though Affection certainly didn't hurt there. Time to do some prep work in advance of the Elite Four, which basically means running around to grab stuff in Blueberry Academy. And it's time for a quiz, and then the Elite Four. So, let's hop in. First is Ground Trainer Rika, which, much like Tulip, is scary as she has super effective attacks for my entire team. Except I don't have a flying type to negate her ground move, so it's actually a bit scarier. She leads with Whiscash, I lead with Clodsire. Immediately Terra to remove my ground weakness. This, along with Water Absorb, gives me some time to set up Toxic Spikes. I then switch to Toxicroak to pivot into Mug, who still takes big Earth Power damage. Then another Earth Power as Muck uses Minimize. Muck barely survives Earth Power, thanks to Affection, but I now have 6 evasion boosts. Now time to start my Acid Armor spam to max out defense. That done, I use Poison Fang to poison Whiscash and then spam Crunch. And then just spam Crunch. Maxed out evasion, maxed out defense, and Toxic means this fight is now just a matter of time. Even with Sandstorm and Muck falling asleep, it barely slows me down. Clodsire even manages to hit an Earthquake, and it deals about 30 damage. Next up is Poppy, Steel-type expert. This means none of my poison shenanigans will work. I lead with Clodsire, who takes huge damage, and I deal big damage in return. Copperajah sets up stones, which means Clodsire can knock it out, but then Clodsire goes down to Bronzong. Salazzle almost takes out Bronzong before also dropping. Then send out Toxicroak, who can finish off Bronzong. Corviknight is weak to Electric, so I can use my new Thunder Punch move. But Brave Bird takes out Toxicroak and Corviknight. Okay, this could be going better. Time to send out Muck to try out my Minimize strategy, but Muck drops to Discharge because my Minimize luck runs out. Grafaiai dodges an attack and Knockoff finishes off Magnezone. All that's left is Tinkaton. It goes Terra Steel, which is not great because all my Ground, Lightning, and Fire moves are on knocked out Pokemon. However, I do have Toxapex, which can use Baneful Bunker to negate Megaton Hammer every other turn. And Tinkaton's best move other than that is Brick Break, which just deals no damage. I do get distracted and use Liquidation when I meant to use Baneful Bunker, but I still take basically no damage. So that is Poppy done. And now it's Larry, our Flying-type expert. I lead with Mug because I want to keep using Minimize strategies, though this Tropius is real obnoxious. Air Slash isn't even 100% accurate normally, and it still keeps hitting. But not enough to stop me from being fully set up. And then Poison Jab to Poison, and then Crunch. And again. And then again. And guess what? Again. And finally, Flamigo, who crits with Brave Bird. Okay, need a backup plan. I send out Toxapex, which has Baneful Bunker to negate attacks, while the Flamigo dies of poison. Okay, briefly interesting there. Dragon time! He leads with Noivern. I start setting up Minimize while he uses Super Fang to immediately have my HP. Once I get set up, I take out Noivern, but my HP is a lot lower than I'd like. Okay, I'm getting very unlucky with Minimize, and Muck drops. Okay, gonna need to skip to plan B, which is send out Salazzle, who has Dragon Pulse. Haxorus comes in, and I Terra Poison to negate my Rock weakness to Nasty Plot, except I get a speed drop, so Haxorus is faster and knocks out Salazzle before it can attack. Okay, plan C. Send out Toxapex to Baneful Bunker to poison, and then use Ice Spinner. I can then use Ice Spinner to take out most of Flapple's health, but I got Leech Seeded, so I need to switch out. But Toxicroak can come in and finish off Flapple. Toxicroak gets one shot, but I can then switch back to Toxapex. I then alternate Baneful Bunker and Ice Spinner to bring down Baxcalibur. That's Hassel down, and all that remains is Champion Geeta. Alright, time for Geeta. I lead with Clodsire, then Terra to remove my Psychic weakness because I need time to set up Toxic Spikes. But because of the special defense drop, and a crit, Clodsire goes down. I send in Grafaiai in the hopes of taking out a Spathra, but it's faster, and poison doesn't stick. Okay, I really want to get poison on this Espathra, so I send out Toxapex to Baneful Bunker. And Espathra sets up Light Screen. Okay, so this could not be going worse. Second Baneful Bunker doesn't work because Lumina Crash doesn't actually make contact. Let's see if Toxicroak is faster than Espathra. No, and I should have used Sucker Punch. Salazzle is definitely faster and can take out Espathra with Flamethrower. Then she takes out Avalugg in one hit. Okay, so having a special attacker here does make a huge difference. King Gambit is up, and Flamethrower is just barely not enough. All that I have left is Mug. I try to set up Minimize, but King Gambit doesn't miss a single attack. Okay, time to reset and try this again. And my strategy was good, my luck was just bad. So let's try this again. Clodsire survives both hits to get up full Toxic Spikes, then lands a Poison Jab thanks to Affection, then another thanks to Affection, before finally dropping. Okay, that was bonkers luck. I send out Salazzle, who I know can finish off a Spathra, and the Avalugg that follows. A nice Flamethrower deals big damage against King Gambit, and then switch into Toxicroak to low sweep. Next is Go-Goat. It's weak to poison, so it drops to a single poison jab. Then another Veluza to hurt my feelings. But this time I remember that Sucker Punch exists. Toxicroak still goes down to Psycho Cut, which crit, but probably didn't need to. Next is Mug to set a Minimize, finally. Veluza drops right as the last Minimize lands. Now it's just her Glamora, which has an Earth attack, which hits immediately. I have just the worst Minimize luck here. I send out Toxapex. Liquidation deals big damage, but Earth Power is really bad. I do have Baneful Bunker to stall out turns to let leftovers heal a bit, and a final Affection save means Toxapex survives and finishes the fight with Liquidation. Alright, I would love for one fight against Geeta to be easy. Seriously, she is such a joke in a casual run, no idea why she was always a pain in mono-type challenges. And it's time for Nemona. I'm maxed out on level, and this is it. Will this be a nightmare? Will it be a cakewalk? Let's find out. I lead with Clodsire against her Lycanroc for all the normal reasons. Ground Terra means no ground weakness, so Clodsire can finish off Lycanroc by itself. Out comes Goodra, who hits an Ice Beam that should have killed, but Affection. Then a Muddy Water that heals me. Then I crit, thanks to Affection. Okay, really wasn't expecting Clodsire to take out 2 Pokemon. Palmot comes out and does finish it off though. Back to Muck because it's Muck strats. Close combat is scary, but Minimize luck finally works in my favor, until Double Shock nearly drops me, and then close combat. Okay, so that's really bad. I decide to get crazy with it and send out Salazzle to Nasty Plot. Palmot goes down without dealing too much damage. Next is Orthworm that drops to a single Flamethrower. Then to Dunsparce, which drops to poison-boosted Venoshock. Then Skeledirge tears away its poison resistance to get one-shot by a poison-boosted Venoshock. Alright then, that fight looked really bad in the first half and very quick in the second. I wasn't really sure what to expect with Poison only, basically in any of these runs, but it was really interesting. Poison feels like such an odd type, being offensively really bad, but then being able to really capitalize on the Poison status, except when it can't. But I will have more to say about that in the summary video out next week. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos, so if you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone, and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.